Shri Chaitanya, Shri Veda Gadhar, Shri Sadi Gorba, Shri Radha Krishna, Gopa Gopinath, Shamakanda Radha, Shri Govinda, Namanam Ki, Maya Pudam Ki, Gnat Puedam Ki, Gangamaya Ki, Yamunamaya Ki, Vlasti Devi Ki, Bhakti Devi Ki, Samaveda Bhakti Devi Ki, Gorakanam Ki. Oh, gloriously some devotees. Oh, gloriously some devotees. Oh, gloriously some devotees. Glorious to Shri Guru and Goram. Later, Guru exhibited his opulence of pronunciation by class 2. So, I'm most happy to come to Krishna House. I've been coming to Krishna House since '94. To have programs Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. I met the devotees when I was in college. So basically, I've just been a college student. Since I've been an adult, I've just been a college student or a devotee. So those are the only people I can relate to. So I'm most happy to be here. College programs. I'm in Tallahassee, where we have a smaller Krishna lunch. Smaller facility with fewer devotees. But also trying to share Krishna with college students. I met the devotees actually when maybe I was around your age. I met the devotees when I was 20. I had taken time off from school because I got tired of school. So between my sophomore year and my junior year, and I was traveling around and had gotten a card that said Bhagavad Gita classes. I went to the temple in New York, and Niranjana Prabhu, and now Niranjana Swami, he was in charge of the new people, and he invited me to stay in the temple during my time off from school. Somehow I wrote that. So for like 6 months I lived there. My second bhakti leader was Sharda Prabhu, who comes to Krishna House in chants, plays the bass in the kirtans. I met him 45 years ago when I was 20 years old. Inspiring to have people around who then steadily practice devotion service, faithful to Prabhupada, chanting Hare Krishna for 45 years. Great. Another person from my youth was Jayadvaita Swami, who would always give a Sunday peace lecture for the more serious people. Bhagavad Gita class regularly. So these devotees have been models of perfect dedication to Srila Prabhupada, devotion service in my life. So I was given a section on the chapter titled "The Pandavas' Entire Time Length." The first 21 verses. I was told I could talk on any purport. There are many ecstatic purports, and I decided to talk about purport to number 5. So I guess we go through, read the verses. People take turns. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Namo Vasudevaya.
Sutta Goswami said, Arjuna, the celebrated friend of Lord Krishna, was grief-stricken because of his strong feeling of separation from Krishna, over and above all Maharaj Yudhisthira's speculative inquiries.
Due to grief, Arjuna's mouth and lotus-like heart had dried up. Therefore, his body lost all luster. Now, remembering the Supreme Lord, he could hardly utter a word in reply.
With great difficulty, he checked the tears of grief that smeared his eyelids. He was very distressed because Lord Krishna was out of his sight. and he increasingly felt affection for him.
Remembering Lord Krishna and his well-wishes, benefactions, intimate familiar relations, and his chariot driving, Arjuna, overwhelmed and breathing very heavily, began to speak.
Arjuna said, "O king, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari, who treated me exactly like an intimate friend, has left me alone. Thus my astounding power, which astonished even the demigods, is no longer with me."
I have just lost him, whose separation for a moment would render all the universes unfavorable and void, like bodies without life.
Only by his merciful strength was I able to vanquish all the lusty princes assembled at the palace of King Drupada for the selection of the bridegroom. With my bow and arrow I could pierce the fish target and thereby gain the hand of Draupadi.
Because he was near to me, it was possible for me to conquer with great dexterity the powerful king of heaven, Indradev, along with his demigod associates, and thus enable the fire god to devastate the Khandava forest. And only by his grace was the demon named Maya saved from the blazing Khandava forest, and thus we could build our assembly house of wonderful architectural workmanship, where all the princes assembled during the performance of Rajasuya Yajna and paid you tributes.
Your respectable younger brother, who possesses the strength of 10,000 elephants, killed by his grace Jarasandha, whose feet were worshipped by many kings. These kings had been brought for sacrificing Jarasandha's Mahabhairavya Yagya, but they were thus released. Later they paid tribute to your majesty.
It was he only who loosened the hair of all the wives of the miscreants who dared open the cluster of your queen's hair, which had been nicely dressed and sanctified for the great Rajasuya sacrificial ceremony. At that time, she fell down at the feet of Lord Krishna with tears in her eyes.
During our exile, Durvasa Muni, who eats with his 10,000 disciples, intrigued with our enemies to put us in dangerous trouble. At that time, he, Lord Krishna, simply by accepting the remnants of food, saved us. By his accepting food thus, the assembly of Munis, while bathing in the river, felt simultaneously fed, sumptuously fed, and all the three worlds were also satisfied.
If it was by his influence only that in a fight I was able to astonish the personality of Lord Shiva and his wife, the daughter of Mount Himalaya. Thus he, Lord Shiva, became pleased with me and awarded me his own weapon. Other demigods also delivered their respective weapons to me, and in addition, I was able to reach the heavenly planets in this present body and was allowed a half-elevated seat.
When I stayed for some days as a guest in the heavenly planets, all the heavenly demigods, including King Indradev, took shelter of my arms, which were marked with the Gandiva bow, to kill the demon named Vivatakavacha. O King, descendant of Ajamita, at the present moment I am bereft of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by whose influence I was so powerful.
Military strength of the Kauravas was like an ocean in which there dwelt many invincible existences, and thus it was insurmountable. But because of his friendship, I, seated in the chariot, was able to cross over it, and only by his grace was I able to regain the cows and also collect by force many helmets of the kings, which were bedecked with jewels, that the sources of all brilliance.
It was he only who withdrew the duration of life from everyone, and who, in the battlefield, withdrew the speculative power and strength of enthusiasm from the great military phalanx made by the Kauravas, headed by Bhishma, Karna, Drona, Shalya, etc. Their arrangement was expert and more than adequate, but he, Lord Sri Krishna, while going forward, did all this.
Great generals like Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Purishrava, Susharma, Shalya, Jayadratha, and Balhika All directed their invincible weapons against me, but by his, Lord Krishna's grace, they could not even touch a hair on my head. Similarly, Prahlad Maharaj, the supreme devotee of Lord Nrsingadev, was unaffected by the weapons the demons used against him.
It was by his mercy only that my enemies neglected to kill me when I descended from my chariot to get water for my thirsty horses. And it was due to my lack of esteem for my Lord that I dared engage him as my chariot driver, for he is worshipped and offered services by the best men to attain salvation.
O king, his jokings and frank talks were pleasing and beautifully decorated with smiles. His addresses unto me as O son of Prita, O friend, O son of the Kuru dynasty, and all such hardiness are now remembered by me, and thus I am overwhelmed.
Both of us used to live together and sleep, sit and loiter together. And at that time of advertising myself for acts of chivalry, sometimes, if there were any irregularities, I used to reproach him by saying, well, my friend, you are very truthful. Even in those hours when his value was minimized, he, being the Supreme Soul, used to tolerate all those utterings of mine, excusing me exactly as a true friend excuses his true friend, or a father excuses his son.
O Emperor, now I am separated from my friend and dearmost well-wisher, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore my heart appears to be void of everything. In his absence, I have been defeated by a number of infidel cowherd men while I was guarding the bodies of all the wives of Krishna.
I have the very same Gandhava bow, the same arrows, the same chariot, drawn by the same horses, and I use them as the same Arjuna, to whom all the kings offered their due respects. But in the absence of Lord Krishna, all of them at a moment's notice have become null and void. It is exactly like offering clarified butter on ashes, accumulating money with the magic wand, or sowing seeds on a barren land.
Thank you very much. So here, with Krishna having just left, Arjuna is intensely remembering all different leelas that he was participating with, and how Krishna blessed him with amazing abilities to protect him in amazing ways in different situations. In the purports, Prabhupada describes some of these pastimes in more detail. I thought I'd talk about verse number 5, which is the one where he talks about basically how the Lord empowers people. Arjuna Vacha
Arjuna Vacha
Anchitoham Maharaja
Anshitoham Maharaj
Nabandhu Rupina
Arjuna
Ename Paritam Tejo
Yanave Parikam Tejo
Deva Vishma Padam Mahat.
Deva Vishma Anam Mahat
Arjuna Vacha
Arjuna Vacha
Anchitoham Maharaja
Anshitoham Maharaj
Arjuna Bandhu
Arjuna Yukina
Yename Parikam Tejo
Yanave Parikam Tejo
Deva Vishma Padam Mahat
Deva Vishma Anam Mahat Arjuna Vacha Anshitoham Maharaja Arjuna Bandhu yena me paritam tejo, deva vishma panamaha.
Vanchitaham Maharaja,
Vanchitaham
Arnabam Krupina,
Arnabandrupina,
Yena me paritam tejo,
yena me paritam tejo,
Deva Vishma Panamaha,
deva vishma panamaha.
So you can read all the words through again. Yeah, we can read them together. Arjuna Vacha, Arjuna said, Vanchita by him, Aham myself, Maharaja, O king, Krishna, Krishna is God, Andrupina, significant intent, Yena, Aru, Yena, Aparitam, again direct, Veda, power, Deva, divinity, Vishma, astonishing, Maha, sound. Translation: Arjuna said, O king, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, who treated me exactly like an intimate friend, has left me alone. Thus my astounding power, which astonished even the demigods, is no longer with me. Report by His divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. In Bhagavad Gita 10:41, the Lord says, anyone specifically powerful and opulent in wealth, strength, beauty, knowledge, and all that is material desirable is to be considered but a product of an insignificant portion of the complete whole of my energy. No one therefore can be independently powerful in any measure without being endowed by the Lord. When the Lord descends to the earth along with his eternal, ever-liberated associates, he not only displays the divine energy possessed by himself, but also empowers his associate devotees with the required energy to execute his mission of incarnation. It is also stated in the Bhagavad Gita 4:5 that the Lord and his eternal associates descend to the earth many times, and that the Lord remembers all the different roles of incarnations, whereas the associates, by his supreme will, forget them. Similarly, the Lord takes away with him all his associates when he disappears from this earth. The power and energy which were bestowed upon Arjuna were required for the fulfillment of the mission of the Lord. But when his mission was fulfilled, the emergency powers were withdrawn from Arjuna, because the astounding powers of Arjuna, which were astonishing even to the denizens of heaven, were no longer required, and they were not meant for going back home, back to God. If the endowment of powers and withdrawal of powers by the Lord are possible even for a great devotee like Arjuna or demigods in heaven, then what to speak of ordinary living beings who are but figs compared to such great souls? The lesson is therefore that no one should be puffed up for his powers borrowed from the Lord. The same man should rather feel obliged to the Lord for such benefactions and must utilize such power for the service of the Lord. Such power can be withdrawn at any time by the Lord, so the best use of such power and opulence is to engage them in the service of the Lord. Again, Timarandasya. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Panchakalpatarishta, Kripasindhuvekcha, Patitanam Pavani, Vaishnavebhyo, No Namaha. So the devotee of the Lord, because he's enlightened, he appreciates whatever abilities he has are coming from Krishna. Actually, he says in Bhagavad Gita 7:8, Purasham Rashu, I'm ability in man. And the devotees, they appreciate that whatever intelligence, whatever artistic abilities, scientific abilities, all coming from Krishna. And therefore, when they're blessed with these abilities, their gratitude for Krishna, the more successful they are in life, the more grateful they become to Krishna for all these abilities that he's given them. Whereas the demoniac person who doesn't recognize that Krishna is behind giving all these abilities to him thinks it's by his own prowess. So the more successful a materialist is, the more proud he becomes, the more illusion he becomes. And the more successful a devotee is, the more appreciative of the Lord he becomes, the more indebted to the Lord he becomes. And here we're just hearing Arjuna tell how he felt indebted to Krishna for empowering him and protecting him in zillions of different situations. And you can see that like all the great devotees of the Lord were empowered in amazing ways. Like Haridas Thakur was empowered to chant 192 rounds a day, and he was tempted by a prostitute spending 3 nights with him in a row, exposing different parts of her body as he just happily chanted Hare Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada was amazingly empowered to come to the West without any assistance of any of his contemporaries, without any funding, and create a whole transcendental mission just by instilling faith. He actually, on that boat, he prayed, please give me, please empower me so that my power of speaking will be suitable for their understanding. Krishna did that. People, he was speaking in a foreign accent, a message that was completely new to people in the West. People could understand what he was saying was truthful, essential, and ultimately completely important. And the best thing they could do is dedicate their life to realizing it and sharing it. So this verse is reminding us that whatever abilities we have, actually my guru gave me the name Krishna Kripa Das. He said that's like Guru Kripa means the mercy of the Guru. Krishna Kripa means the mercy of Krishna. We should always think that it's only by Krishna's mercy that we're here. It's not because I was already vegetarian or I was a really spiritual person, but it's actually Krishna's mercy. And it's actually Krishna's mercy that we can take part in any particular devotional service. To advertise our Krishna lunch in Tallahassee, I distribute free cups of halava from the previous day. But it's not anyone who can take that halava. You actually have to have mercy of Krishna. And some people, walk by it every day and never take it. And other people realize it's really great, come by and take it several times, go to the lunch, realize that's really great, and gradually progress. But there's that verse we chant before the Prasada Maha Sadi Govinde Nama Brahmani Vaishnav Papapuni Vitam Raja Andra Shashvana Vichayate. You actually have to be pious to have faith in Govinda, faith in the name of the Lord, faith in the devotees of the Lord, faith in the Prasadam. And so we're all recipients of amazing mercy already. Everyone's sitting here just to have faith that this Bhagavatam has some real knowledge that ultimately benefit our soul. So the more we see the good fortune as the blessings of the Lord and feel obliged to Him and then want to serve Him because He's so kind to us, the more our devotional service expands. So that's the very key point and one of the most important points that's mentioned in this section. So I wanted to mention that. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Anybody want to share how they felt they were empowered? People around them were empowered? Yes.
This is just a comment that I've been meditating on recently. I heard that
that Lord Jagannath is the bestower of devotional service.
All godly souls. Yeah, well, Jagannath is on our mind because we had that amazing Smart Nacha yesterday. And it's interesting that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when he was considering expanding this mission in the West, he thought that people should be first taught to worship Lord Jagannath because he's famous as Patita Pavana. And then, lo and behold, Malali found these Jagannath murtis in this import store, showed him what's going on, and explained this is a form of Krishna. So even he, that spontaneously happened, Bhaktisiddhanta had that desire, and then what do you know, Malali found Jagannath and he became the first deity. So Jagannath is very merciful, and last year I went to 11 Rath Yatras. Yeah. Miami, Tampa, Tallahassee, St. Augustine, New York, Paris, Amsterdam, Brussels, Switzerland, Bratislava, Slovakia, Liverpool, England, and Philadelphia. So, yeah, Daytona this weekend, which is I believe it's the disappearance day of Kadamba Swami. He disappeared 2 days after the Dwar Purnima. So. And we have St. Augustine on the 12th, and last Saturday in the March we have Tallahassee, which is not widely publicized. Still very ecstatic. So yeah, Jagannath is very special because he takes all the other deities, you have to go to the temple to see them, but he goes out to see you, even if you have no interest. And then I'm at the Rath Yatras, people ask me what it's about, and I say, well, every tradition, there's some place of worship where people go and perform spiritual activities, but some people are atheistic, some people are agnostic, some people think they're too busy to go to a place of worship. So here the Lord and his devotees come out to bring that spiritual atmosphere of the place of worship out to the street where the people are. And when you explain it like that, people think, wow, how wonderful, like it's an act of mercy, which it is. So thank you for reminding us of Jagannath. I was bestowing mercy. And we have the opportunity to act as his agents. I like to go, if I can, to the city where the Rath Yatra is early and do Harinam and advertise. And this year I went to the Amsterdam, and I went a day early. And as you probably remember, those very striking individuals who came from Holland, the Party Manjari and Chitraleka, I told them I was coming and could they organize a Harinam. So I often encourage people to organize Harinams, but I very rarely encounter such enthusiastic response. So Rati Manjari told her sister Chitraleka to organize a Harinam, and we had like 10 or 11 people singing for 2.25 hours the day before the Rath Yatra in Amsterdam, even though it was intermittent rain, which it often is in Amsterdam. And it was ecstatic. And we didn't have like zillions of flyers, so I was only giving the flyers to people who looked really interested. But people would see me passing out the invitations and come up to me and ask for them. And that doesn't happen in New York and Paris. Also, so it was very inspiring. So please take advantage of the opportunity to serve Rath Yatra and get the Lord Jagannath to bestow additional devotional service on you. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. You were asking about when is the time we were, or someone around us that we saw was empowered, right?
Mm.
I thought of a time when I felt empowered. It was one day I was doing book distribution, and I was getting straight rejection the entire day. And then I just started thinking about the mantra, and I started remembering a certain rhythm of the mantra that we sing sometimes, and I just felt so lifted up and boosted.
Wow.
And then I was able to just keep going
Wow.
the rest of the day.
That's good.
So anytime I do book distribution, I don't even think about what I'm going to say. I just think about the Maha Mantra.
Wow.
And, it helps so much.
Thank you for sharing that. I actually felt empowered one time. Usually I don't really like book distribution. I don't like talking to people. I don't like selling things. So it's like completely opposite to my nature. But one time I thought I should go out for the marathon. So I was doing some lots in Gainesville. I saw somebody sitting in the driver's seat of his car in the parking lot reading a Bible. I said, what am I going to tell this guy? So I said, you're the most intelligent person I've seen all day. Everyone's here buying stuff for their sense gratification, but you're reading the Word of God. And he gave 5 and took an SSR. So I thought, wow, lines like that, Krishna has to give them to, I don't come up with, I don't normally think of things like that. You just gotta be real. Yes, sir.
Just finished up my time in the military.
Wow.
2 years ago today, I was starting training in a nuclear training facility for the Navy up in Charleston.
Wow.
And now that I've finished, I'm kind of in a mood of reflection, and it's come to mind. I think back to those times. I was working rotating shifts, 12-hour work days, 7-day work weeks, sometimes coming in at 10 p.m., sometimes 5 a.m., sometimes 2 p.m. And I was chanting 16 rounds. I was reading Bhagavatam every day. I was cooking prasadam for myself every day. And I look back at that time, and nowadays I think back and I just think, how did I do that? like I try and calculate in my head, like there wasn't enough time in the day to do the sadhana that I did, but somehow it happened. And so I'm in that mood of reflection, and speaking with my mentors, they reflect to me like immediately, like, yeah, it's Krishna's mercy. It's not, you can't carry yourself through that kind of circumstance, but Krishna can. Krishna's mercy is there. So I think about that, and even in a broader, general sense, like, especially here in America, we have very comfortable temples that we get to practice in such vibrant communities, but there are devotees even now in the world who they can't publicly practice because they'll be put in prison. They have to practice secretly. Or devotees who have been practicing in prisons. We have a friend from Krishna House who's practicing in prison right now. So devotees who've gone through such difficult times and they continue to practice, and I really reflect it. Especially in times of difficulty, times of challenge, like Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, that's when I really feel like, I'm being carried by mercy, because there's no way I could do this on my own. I appreciate the reflections.
Thank you. And that's a nice theme that we like to give in the classes, that to be completely dedicated to your sadhana in the morning makes the whole rest of the day go very wonderfully. Especially the chanting of the 16 rounds. It's like, I feel if I chant, I didn't study very much for class. 16 rounds before I gave the class. I don't volunteer to cook, but sometimes they have too few people, so I get volunteered to cook. So I was making a breakfast in San Diego, and I made oatmeal because it's super simple and because I like it, but the Bengalis, they didn't like the oatmeal. So they taught me how to make khichdi. So out of duty, I was making this khichdi every week, But one time I woke up extra early, and I finished all my 16 rounds before I went in the kitchen. And then the Bengali people who taught me how to make the khichdi said, "This khichdi is so good. How did you do it? How did you make it?" So I make it the same way, I make it every week, just like you told me. The only difference was that day I accidentally woke up early and chanted 16 rounds, and the people who taught me how to make it were saying how good it was. Yeah, so I think Advaita was before you, Mr. John. Oh yeah? Okay. You're exhibiting your opulence of renunciation again.
Just really quick, one thing that always seems to empower me or like give me a devotional boost is like for instance this week I was looking at the Vaishnav calendar and just seeing like, okay, it's Monday morning, right? So we're gonna start this week, and then Thursday's Gorbanim, and Saturday's the Rath Yatra, and so we're gonna, like have this big festival weekend, and just anytime there's like a stack or lineup of like holy days or festivals to look forward to, I feel like it always motivates me to like be stronger in my sadhana and my service and discipline. So yeah, I'm saying I'm very thankful for the Vaishnava holidays and calendar that we have. It's like anything else, to go through a year of all the celebrations that we do.
Thank you for sharing that. It's true. We had a lot of mercy from the past 2 days, especially Gauraprabhu. My mother bathed Lord Chaitanya in San Diego Gauraprabhu. Did you want to say something at Advaita Prabhu?
Yeah, I have a question.
Oh, really?
Okay. To you.
Can do.
You mentioned Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master. He has sent many. There's sent many of, you can say, few of his disciples to the West to spread the mission, and yet, in the case of Prabhupada, it's kind of gained traction. To your knowledge, like what made that difference? Like, how did it work with Prabhupada, and how it worked less or didn't with others? Well, I'm sure they were sincere and they were trying to please Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in terms of empowerment to do that worldwide.
Well, actually, that question was answered by Godbrother Srila Prabhupada, Krishna Das Babaji Maharaj. He was saying Bharan Maharaj, who was one of the people who went, he knew the Shastra really well. He was, he was enthusiastic, and so Prabhupada knew the Shastra. He was enthusiastic. What was the difference? Why was one amazingly successful and the other not amazingly successful? And he said it was because of his faith in the holy name. And he tells another story. Told the story to B.V. Govinda Swami that at the time of Prabhupada's initiation, Krishna Das Babaji Maharaj, he was there and he was doing what he always did, which was chant Hare Krishna. Kirtan or Japa, he was always chanting Hare Krishna. That's why he was a Babaji. That was his only thing. So he was there chanting Hare Krishna, and the pujaris were like getting ready for this ceremony, and they thought he was making too much noise chanting Hare Krishna. so they motioned to him like this, and then they went back to their work, and then Prabhupada looked over at Babaji Maharaj and went like this. And Babaji Maharaj said, when I saw him go like this, I knew he would be successful in his mission. So it said, Harinam, Harinam, Harinam Eva Kevalam, Kolo Nashteva, 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 If you want spiritual perfection in this age of Kali, must chant the holy name, must chant the holy name. Chant the holy name. There's no other way. There's no other way. There's no other way. And in the Kali Sanjana Upanishad, Narada asks his father, Guru Brahma, what's the best spiritual practice for this age of Kali? And Lord Brahma says, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Iti Shadasha Kam Nam Nam, these 16 names, Kali Kamasha Nashanam, to destroy all the impurities of this age of Kali. Nata Paratayo Paya, you won't find a superior process. Sarvedesha Drishati, you look through all the Vedas. So that's like, actually I was reading a quote recently. I found it. Bhakti Swami wrote a book, Mood and Mission of Srila Prabhupada, which is in production. That's 9,000 Prabhupada quotes in there. Fortunately, I didn't have to look them all up. But there's one quote, and it's find it in my device, but it was very powerful. Krishna, this is in the chapter on Krishna's appearance in the 10th canto, chapter 3 of the 10th canto. Krishna appears in this world for two purposes: paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya dushkritam, to protect the innocent religious devotees of Lord and to annihilate all the uneducated, uncultured asuras who unnecessarily bark like dogs and fight among themselves for political power. It is said, Kali Kali Nama Rupe Krishna Avatar. The Hare Krishna movement is also an incarnation of Krishna in the form of the holy name, Nama Rupa. Everyone who is actually afraid of the asuric rulers and politicians must welcome this incarnation of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Then we will surely be protected from the harassment of asuric rulers. At the present moment, these rulers are so powerful that by hook or by crook, they capture the highest posts in government and harass countless numbers of people on the plea of national security or some emergency. Very prophetic. Then again, one asura defeats another asura, but the public continues to suffer. Therefore, the entire world is in a precarious condition, and the only hope is this Hare Krishna movement. Lord Nrsimhadev appeared when Prahlad was excessively harassed by his asuric father. Because of such asuric fathers, that is, the ruling politicians, it is very difficult to press forward the Hare Krishna movement. But because Krishna has now appeared in his holy name through this movement, we can hope that these asuric fathers will be annihilated and the kingdom of God established all over the world. The entire world is now full of many asuras in the guise of politicians, gurus, sadhus, yogis, and incarnations, and they are misleading the general public away from Krishna consciousness, which can offer true benefit to human society. So we see here Prabhupada's absolute faith in the power of the holy name. He said, Nija Sarva Shaktis. Lord Chaitanya says, Lord has invested all of his energies in the holy name. And the holy name can save us individually and collectively from all demoniac influences within and without. And Prabhupada had absolute faith in this, and therefore he was successful beyond the success of his godbrothers. Yes.
Thank you, Prabhu. We talked about how we need Krishna's mercy to even get in contact with devotees, or Jagannath's mercy. And I was just, I've also heard before that one cannot make advancement without Nityananda's mercy. And I've also heard before that one cannot make advancement without Radharani's mercy. And so I was just wondering, because I also know that these are almost like separate. I mean, they're like their own entities in their own, they're a little bit different roots sometimes. And so I was just wondering, how do we make sense of like, we need everyone's mercy? Like how do we think?
We need as much mercy as we can get. Yeah, well, one thing we can do practically is we can like pray to these different people on their appearance days, like we had Lord Nityananda's appearance day the other day. So on that day we can remember him and we can pray, just as you delivered the rascals, Jagai Malaya, please deliver my rascal mind, which is infected with similar demonic tendencies. make me a nice devotee of Lord Chaitanya. So that's one practical thing we can do. When we see them, when we go to the temple or the studios, we can pray for them and see. I've heard, my dear Lord Nityananda, I've heard from authorities that it's only by your mercy I can achieve success. Please be merciful unto me. Like Narottam Das Thakur prays in that song, I'm very happy, but I'm very unhappy, but you're very happy. Please be merciful unto me. So that you haven't spoken yet, so
Thank you so much for such a wonderful class. I just wanted to say one thing on Nate's point. Because sometimes it's like you said, we have to get everyone's mercy. We have to have as much mercy as we can get. But sometimes we also think that there's this thing that happened in Prabhupada's time where they made like a Nityananda club. And do you remember this story? They made like a Nityananda club, and they're like, well, Nityananda is like the most merciful, so we should really, really focus on Lord Nityananda. And Prabhupada, he wasn't like upset. He appreciated their sincerity, but he said, if you want to pick anyone to focus on, to get the mercy, Guru.
Yeah.
Because it's through Guru that we're connected to all the merciful personalities.
That's very important point. Thank you. The Guru is the representative of both Nityananda and Radharani. Is that the report in the Adi Lila chapter 1, where Prabhupada says that generally the Guru is seen either as a representative of Radharani. Yeah. So are we supposed to end now, or will we end when the prasadam appears? Is that? Yes, that's please. Thank
you very much. Jumping in as a special guest, do you like to do that?
Yeah, I like that, because even if you don't do so well, you can say, well, I didn't have time to study. What can you expect,
And we get the variety of flavors and discussion. Yeah, one thing about empowerment, if you could also share, what would block from being empowered? You understand? Lord Chaitanya, he wants it. Srila Prabhupada wants it. Guru, they want it.
Right.
Sarve Sukhino Bhavantu. There should be happiness all over the world. What would block them besides what you mentioned, doubt?
I think the main thing that blocks people is Vaishnava aparad. Because like for example, the Sabari Muni, he was empowered to meditate underwater, but because he offended Garuda, he saw some fishes engaging in sexual activity and decided that he should get married after all. And then he ended up marrying 50 princesses. And it complicated his life a bit. So yeah, so that we can get distracted from our focus if the material desires awaken in us because we've offended the Vaishnavas. So, and the interesting thing is that the stepmother of Dhruva, Suruchi, she died untimely. She died prematurely because she offended Dhruva even before he started practicing sadhana bhakti. So don't think it's all right to offend people before they're initiated. Even in that case, like nobody knew he was a devotee. His mom told him to go to the forest and look for God, but that she offended him before he even began his journey, and she had to die on time.
So, observing these students, you have putting the halawa.
Yeah.
I'd end up being like a mayor of Gainesville. Now we're in trouble because we kind of served him in an awful way.
And they could be, they could be second initiated in 3 years. Who knows? So many people become devotees from the Krishna lunch. There's this Sundari Gopi who was a physics student at UF, and she's second initiated, does service for the Bhakti Muralidhar in a Bhakti Center. She was just another student eating Krishna lunch, decided to help serve, started coming to the programs, learned the Vedanta. She and her sister, one time on the blanket was just me, Sundari Gopi, and her sister doing the Harinam. So that's the big thing that blocks harmony is offenses. But otherwise, the devotional service is so purifying that it purifies us of our different material inclinations. But the offended devotees, Krishna takes it so seriously. Anyone who's trying to be a devotee is very guilty. Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Stodito Gaudiya Pushpavan Kochito Siddho Tamonido. Bow down to Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, who have risen simultaneously on the horizon of Gauda, just like the sun and the moon, to destroy the darkness of this age of Kali and to wonderfully bestow benediction upon all. That's like Adi 1-2, I believe. Beautiful prayer time. Chaitanya Lord Nityananda. So we can have their darshan and get more mercy. Some people wanted the mercy of Nityananda, right? Lord Nityananda is very reciprocal. He showed himself, he accepted our prayers, smiles, obeisances. When I was here in 94, Gopal, formerly Paul, was chopping vegetables for Krishna lunch in 94. Yeah. So he has lifetime credit. Oh, you made me an alternate. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. I heard that Prabhupada likes us to have an evening program. So for 11 years, I gave class every evening in the Lachla. 10 minutes of nectar devotion, 10 minutes of Krishna book, half hour Bhagavad Gita, 10 minutes of Chairad Madhava. They put it on the radio at a certain point. So the next day, people would say, "Oh, I heard your class on the radio. That was really good." But I always knew that even though there's nobody in the audience, there was 3 people behind the curtain who were hearing it. So I was happy, and plus the deities and Prabhupada. So now I'm not afraid to give class just like that because nobody was coming. I didn't bother to study for it, so I got used to giving classes without studying for them. So it doesn't bother me anymore. Sadhguru Swami said the 4 walls will go back to God from hearing the class. Any of those leelas that Arjuna was remembering was striking to you? Any of your favorite leelas? Breakfast is here. All right, it's true. Well, I guess we should say the prayer. Which version of the prayer do we say today? Srila Prabhupada ki, Bhagavad Prasad ki, Sarila Bhagavad Gita,